All right, let's just jump right in. Ever stop and think about the hidden forces that are kind of guiding our decisions every single day? Well, we're about to pull back that curtain and look at the subtle and sometimes, kind of shocking psychology of persuasion.
So this whole thing kicks off with this wild story. Picture this, a jewelry store owner in Arizona, right? She's got this turquoise jewelry she just can't sell. The quality is good, the price is fair, but nothing. It's just sitting there. So out of sheer frustration, she scribbles a note for her staff. Cut the price in half. Simple enough? But her employee misreads the note and doubles the price instead. And what happens? The entire collection sells out, like almost immediately. Crazy, right?
And that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, it makes no sense. It's completely irrational. So what is going on inside our heads that makes us act in these ways that are, well, they're predictable, but at the same time, totally unexpected?
Okay, so to figure this out, we need to understand a basic fact about our brains. They love shortcuts. Seriously, a huge amount of what we do is on autopilot. And a great way to see this in action is actually by looking at the animal kingdom.
Okay, check this out. It's a fascinating experiment with mother turkeys. Now, these turkeys are super protective moms. If they even see their number one enemy, a polecat, they go into full-on attack mode. Vicious. But, and this is where it gets weird, scientists took a stuffed polecat and put a tiny recorder inside it, one that just played the cheep cheep sound of a baby chick. The mother turkey's reaction? It just completely flips. She doesn't attack. She actually starts to mother the stuffed predator, pulling it in close under her wing.
You see, that one little cheep cheep sound? That's the trigger. It's like it presses play on a pre-programmed tape in the turkey's brain. The author Robert Cialdini has a great name for this, a click-run response. Something in the environment goes click and run. This automatic behavior just plays out. And here's the thing, we humans, we have these same kinds of mental shortcuts. We use them all the time without even realizing it.
And that right there brings us full circle, back to that jewelry store. Those tourists, they probably didn't know a thing about turquoise, so they used a simple shortcut, a mental rule of thumb, expensive equals good. That was their click, run. But that's just one of many, many triggers. So let's dive into 3 other really powerful ones that can totally hijack our brain's autopilot.
All right, first on the list, the contrast principle. This one's all about how the context, what comes before a decision, can be way more powerful than the decision itself. So Cialdini tells this amazing story about a college student named Sharon who writes a letter home to her parents. And man, it starts off with just an absolute nightmare. She lays out this whole series of disasters. A fire in her dorm, a skull fracture from jumping out the window, then she's pregnant, and her fiancé has some kind of infection. It's just one horrible thing after another.
So after building up all this tension, painting this horrifying picture, she just pulls the rug out. None of it was true. Not a single word.
And then she hits them with the real news, the reason for the letter. She's getting a D in history and an F in chemistry. And suddenly, that doesn't sound so bad, does it? I mean, compared to a skull fracture and a dorm fire, bad grades are a total relief. You gotta give it to her. Sharon definitely gets an A in psychology.
And that is the contrast principle in action. Perfectly. It's why a smart salesperson will always show you the really expensive suit first. Let's say it's a $3,000 suit. Now, after you've wrapped your head around that number, what happens when they show you a $100 sweater? All of a sudden, it seems cheap. It feels like a bargain. The price of the sweater didn't change, but your perception of it did, dramatically.
Okay, moving on to our next trigger. This one is a huge motivator for us, that deep down fear of losing out. FOMO. So why is it that we seem to want things so much more the moment we think we can't have them?
There was this great study with cookies. Researchers asked people to rate cookies from a jar. Now, some people took a cookie from a jar that was almost full, had 10 cookies. Others took from a jar that only had 2. Guess which cookies people liked more? The ones from the nearly empty jar. They rated them as way more desirable. But here's the real kicker. The cookies that were rated the most desirable of all, those came from a jar that started off full but then was replaced with the nearly empty jar right in front of them. It was the sudden scarcity, that feeling of losing the opportunity, that made all the difference.
This all comes down to a really powerful cognitive bias called loss aversion. And it's simple. The pain of losing something feels way more intense than the pleasure of gaining the exact same thing. Losing $50 hurts more than finding $50 feels good. It's just how we're wired.
So next time you see limited time offer or only 3 left in stock, yeah, you know exactly what they're doing. They're not just selling you a product, they're tapping directly into that fundamental fear of missing out.
Okay, for our last one, we're looking at what might just be the most powerful weapon of influence there is. And it's all about the deep, often totally unconscious, power of a shared identity. The power of we.
Just think about how sports fans talk. It's a perfect example. When their favorite team wins, what do they say? We won. We are number one, right? But what happens when that exact same team loses? Suddenly it's they lost. It's such a simple switch, but it's so telling. We automatically link ourselves to success and push away from failure. We want to bask in that reflected glory.
Now, this principle can also have incredibly dark and chilling consequences. There's this observation from an anthropologist who was studying the Holocaust, and he describes a guard at a concentration camp. This guard was, methodically participating in mass murder. But then, for some reason, he inexplicably spared one single prisoner.
So the question is, why? I mean, what on earth could override those orders, that horrific situation? It turns out the guard recognized that the prisoner was from his very own hometown. That one single tiny point of connection, a shared identity. It was powerful enough to completely change everything in that moment.
This is a profound example of what Cialdini calls the unity principle. And it goes way back. It's an evolutionary thing. Trusting your own tribe literally meant survival. So when we see someone as being one of us, part of our in-group, our defenses just automatically drop, our trust goes up, and we become way more open to their influence. It doesn't matter if it's based on family, or you're from, or any other shared identity. The response is automatic.
So let's wrap this up. What's the big takeaway? Well, our brains are basically running on autopilot a lot of the time, using these mental shortcuts. How we see value can be totally changed by what we saw a second ago. The fear of losing something is a way bigger motivator than the chance to gain something. And finally, we are just wired to trust and favor anyone we see as part of our tribe. These triggers aren't rare, they are everywhere, shaping our decisions, big and small, every single day.
Look, at the end of the day, understanding these principles is like having a tool. It can be used for anything, from selling a product to just better understanding the world around you. Knowing this stuff, being aware of it, that's your best defense. It's also your most effective tool. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you can kind of see the strings, what are you going to do in a world where they're constantly being pulled?